Good morning. I am Bradley, and I serve this church on the board as the programs trustee. Before we blend our voices together in song, there's a few reminders for you all. If you are visiting us for the first time, and you are especially welcome, Phyllis at the visitors table by the door can help you get oriented if you have any questions. If you have little ones, our greeters can show you the way to the nursery, which is available to the service for children ages 6 and younger. Our services are filmed and are posted on YouTube. If you want to make sure that you are not on camera, please sit in the perfume-free zone, which is this wedge of seats here, or the section that is closer to the back wall, that wedge right there. Feel free to move during the song if you need to. Please silence your cell phones. And today's opening hymn is number 168 in your thicker gray hymnal. Please rise in body or spirit for hymn 168, One More Step. If I can stop one heart from breaking, I shall not live in vain. If I can ease one life the aching, or cool one pain, or help one fainting robin into his nest again, I shall not live in vain. Welcome to Holston Valley Unitarian Universalist Church. If you're with us on the internet, or if you're with us sitting in the chairs around me, we are one community united in our commitment to each other and our commitment to live out our principles in the world. Today is Social Justice Sunday, and the Social Justice Committee has invited two speakers to talk to you all, Kristina from the Appalachian Service Project and Artie from Tri-Cities Mutual Aid. We have activity bags by the welcome table for any of our younger friends who might need something to do during the service. Just make sure to leave them back at the welcome table when the service ends. As we light our chalice, please join me in saying our vision statement, which is printed in our bulletin. We work together as a church to transform ourselves, our community, and our world by sharing love, pursuing justice, and seeking wonder. Today, we are inviting our kids, youth, and their parents to join us up here for our Time for All Ages, where we are going to learn a little bit more about helping others. This is also the time kids can put money for the kids' collection plate. The children voted on what cause they would like to support, and they voted to give money to alleviate hunger in the Tri-Cities. Come on up. I'm going to read a story called The Quilt Maker's Gift. Have you all encountered a quilt in your life? It's like a blanket, but like thicker, and it's made out of sections instead of one thread at a time. Yeah?
I have one on my bed. Me too.
Okay, perfect. Then you know exactly what a quilt looks like. Perfect. So when you hear about the quilt maker making a quilt, you know what she's talking about. There was once a quilt maker who lived in the blue, misty mountains up high. Even the oldest great-great-grandfather could not recall a time when she was not up there, sewing away day after day. Here and there and wherever the sun warmed the earth, it was said she made the prettiest quilts anyone had ever seen. Many people climbed her mountain, pockets bursting with gold, hoping to buy one of the wonderful quilts, but the woman would not sell them. She told all who knocked on her door, "I give my quilts to those who are poor or homeless. They are not for the rich." Now, at this time, there also lived a very powerful and greedy king who liked nothing better than to receive presents. The hundreds of thousands of beautiful gifts he got for Christmas and his birthday were never enough. So a law was passed that the king would celebrate his birthday twice a year. When that still wasn't enough, he ordered his soldiers to search the kingdom for those few people who had not yet given him a gift. Over the years, the king had come to own almost all the prettiest things in the world. Throughout the castle, from top to bottom, in drawers and on shelves, in boxes and trunks, and closets and sacks, all of the king's countless things were stashed. And yet, with all these marvelous treasures to enjoy, the king never smiled. He was not happy at all. Somewhere there must be one beautiful thing that will finally make me happy, and I will have it. One day, a soldier rushed into the palace with news about a magical quilt maker who lived in the mountains. The king stamped his foot. "And how is it that this person has not given me one of her quilts as a gift?" he demanded. "She only makes them for the poor, Your Majesty," the soldier replied, "and she will not sell them for any amount of money." "Well, we shall see about that," the king roared. "Bring me a horse and 1,000 soldiers." And they set off in the search of the quilt maker. But when they arrived at her house, the quilt maker merely laughed. "My quilts are for the poor and needy, and I can see that you are neither poor nor needy." "I want one of those quilts," the king demanded. "It might be the one thing that will finally make me happy." The woman thought for a moment. "Give away everything you own as presents," she said, "and then I'll make you a quilt for you. With each gift that you give, I'll sew in another piece. When at last all of your things are gone, your quilt will be finished." "Give away my wonderful treasures," cried the king. "I don't give things away, I take them." And with that, he ordered his soldiers to seize the beautiful star quilt from the quilt maker. But when they rushed up upon her, she tossed the quilt out at the window, and a great gust of wind carried it up, away. The king yelled. The king screamed. He cried. He stomped his feet and ripped out his hair. He was very powerful and very greedy. But he wasn't mean, and he didn't want to punish the old woman. After a long time of having a tantrum, he huffed and puffed and turned to the old woman. "What do you want me to do?" "Give away all of the things you own, and I'll sew a quilt for you. And with each gift that you give, I'll add another piece to your quilt." "I can't do that. I love all my wonderful, beautiful things," cried the king. "But if they don't make you happy, what good are they?" said the woman. "That's true," the king sighed. "Oh, all right," the king muttered. "If I must give away my treasures, then I must." The king went to his castle and searched from top to bottom for something he could bear to give away. Frowning, he finally came out with a single marble and gave it to a boy. But the boy who received it smiled so brightly in return, the king went back for more things. He brought out a pile of velvet coats and went about the town giving them to people dressed only in rags. All were so pleased that they marched up and down the street in a grand parade. Still, though, the king did not smile. Next, the king fetched 100 waltzing blue Siamese cats and the dozen fish that were clear as glass. Then the king, oh no. Crisis averted. Then the king ordered his merry-go-round with real horses and to be brought out. Children squealed with delight and hugged him. And just then, the smallest of smiles began to show on the king's face. The king looked about him and saw the dancing and merrymaking and all the happiness his gifts had brought, a child took hold of his hand and pulled him into the dance. Now the king was really smiling and even laughed out loud. "How can this be?" he cried. "How can I feel so happy about giving my things away? Bring everything out. Bring it all out at once." Meanwhile, the quilt maker kept her word and started making the special quilt for the king. With each gift that he gave, she added another piece to his quilt. So the king kept on giving, and the quilt maker kept on sewing and sewing, when at last there was no one left in town who had not received something. So the king decided to go out into the world and find others who might be in need of his gifts. Morning, noon, and night, the wagons rolled out of town, each piled high with the king's wonderful gifts. And for years and years and years, the king kept giving, and the quilt maker kept sewing. After 10 years, there was not a person in the world, not a man, not a woman, not a child, who had not received a gift from the king. All those years. The quilt maker kept on sewing, and with each gift he gave, a piece of the quilt was added. This was the biggest quilt that the old woman had ever made. And one day, she stopped. She had a feeling that the king had given his last gift. So she pulled a final stitch in the quilt and started down the mountain in search of the king. After a long search, she finally found him. The king's royal clothes were now in tatters, and his toes poked out of his boots. Yet his eyes glittered, and his laugh was wonderful and thunderous. The quilt maker unfolded the king's quilt from her bag. It was so beautiful that hummingbirds and butterflies fluttered around it. She tenderly wrapped it around him. "What's this?" said the king. "I told you many years ago," the woman said, "that I only give my quilts to the poor. Since you have given away all of your gifts, as was our deal, I now have a quilt for you. When the day came that you yourself were poor, only then would I give you a quilt." "But I'm not poor," the king laughed. "I may look poor, but my heart is full of joy. It is filled with memories of all the happiness I've given and received. I'm the richest man I know."
No?
He is. "And that is why," the quilt maker said, "you now deserve this quilt." "Thank you," replied the king. "I'll take it, but only if you accept a gift from me. There is one last treasure I have to give away, and you are the last person who has not received one."
That's a big quilt!
It was a lot of gifts. "All these years I've saved it just for you." And from his rickety, rundown wagon, the king brought out his throne. "It's really quite comfortable," the king said, "and just the thing for long days of sewing." From that day on, the king often came to the quilt maker's house. By day, the quilt maker made the beautiful quilts she would not sell, and at night, the king took them down to the poor, never happier than when he was giving something away. The end. Thank you for the story, guys. You may now go to your seats. Just as story speaks to a part of us that nonfiction usually can't reach in the same way, music speaks to a part of us deeper than words. Today's musical offering is Be Good, performed by Victoria and Jordan.
Jesus Christ was a handsome man. He had nothing to hide. He said, "Give bread to the hungry. Bring the homeless inside." Jesus Christ was a dangerous man. That's the way that he died. He said, "Be good to the people you love and love everybody alive. Be good to the people. Be good to the people. Be good to the people you love and love everybody alive." And Dr. King was a preacher. He had God on his side. He said, all God's children are brothers. Don't cast your brother aside. And Dr. King was a dangerous man. That's the way that he died. He said, be good to the people you love and love everybody alive. Be good to the people. Be good to the people. Be good to the people you love and love everybody alive. And there ain't nothing more criminal than kindness. And there ain't nothing more valuable than blindness. We'll make anyone a martyr who will remind us everybody's got the right to be free. Be good to the people. Be good to the people. Be good to the people you love and love everybody alive. Love everybody alive.
Come to this community with all that you are. Your joys and your concerns are welcome here. We share our moments of joys and sorrows with us by using these candle cards, if you're with us in person, or by emailing Reverend Tiffany at minister@hvuuc.org with the words candle card in the subject line. Please make sure to indicate whether or not you would like this card to be read aloud in the service, which is still being broadcast publicly on YouTube. We have a candles card from Mike Jackson, who has been having some heart troubles. He has requested prayers and good energies for him and Betty. Specifically, they are praying that Mike gets the right medications for his needs. We also have a card from Cindy. I wanted to share that my mom, Christine, had open heart surgery on Wednesday, January 15th at Holston Valley Med Center. She's doing great, though very tired. So this is a candle of joy for that, and the fact that she called 911 when things didn't feel right, that mom lives in Kingsport now, and that my sister happened to be visiting at the time. Listen to your body, love each other, and thank you all for your support as we navigate new ground. The Social Justice Committee would like to celebrate a big joy. I'm very excited for this one. After almost 2 years in the works, a statewide UU Action Network is being formed, called the Tennessee UU Congregational Action Network, and they call themselves Toucan. That's brilliant. Noel, Bob, Don, and Alessia attended a retreat this month where almost all of the 14 Tennessee UU churches were represented. The goal is to have Tennessee UUs work together collectively by pooling our resources and helping each other in order to face issues that affect all of us across the state, such as natural disasters and legislative concerns. We would like to thank Don and Alessia for volunteering to be on a formative steering committee for Toucan as the group formalizes its processes and procedures, and they are happy to hear from you if you have questions or opinions. They are excited for future developments and hope you'll stay tuned about this ongoing joy. If you wish to light your own silent candle, approach the side of the table that is closest to you, and the closer candle keeper will assist you. Please light the candles at the back of the table first so that no one has to reach over an open flame. If you wish for us to light a candle for you, please raise your hand until I acknowledge you, and I will ensure a candle is lit for your intention. And because our community is so much larger than those of us who are just in the building at this morning, we light a candle to hold space for those who are not physically present with us, but are ever in our hearts and minds. and we light a final candle for all that remains unspoken in our hearts and minds.
Hi everybody, my name is Kristina and I'm the Vice President of Home Repair for the Appalachian Service Project, and I'm going to share a little bit about the work that we do. So 4 months ago, it seems both like maybe a minute and maybe years since Hurricane Helene hit our area of East Tennessee, Western North Carolina, and Southwest Virginia. This is the kind of storm that really impacted everyone, and life as we know it for our neighbors is very different now, and things have looked bleak and unsure, but we are beginning to see some of that light come through all of this. And so I'd like to take some time to offer maybe some hope after Helene and offer you a chance to brighten the light that we've been seeing a bit more. So what is ASP, or Appalachian Service Project? We are a home repair and home replacement and disaster recovery ministry that has been serving Central Appalachia since 1969. Our headquarters is based out of Johnson City, Tennessee, and every year we'll have about 10,000 volunteers come across our service area of East Tennessee, Eastern Kentucky, West Virginia, Southwest Virginia, and Western North Carolina to help make homes warmer, safer, and drier. I was one of those volunteers about 20 years ago when I first came, and I volunteered in Knott County, Kentucky as a young high school student from Ohio. I grew up hearing stories about working with ASP in my home church, including my parents, and I could not wait to go myself. And afterwards, I went on to serve as a summer staffer as a college student. I was an adult volunteer with ASP before joining the team full-time in 2016. ASP has been doing disaster recovery for a little over 10 years now, and that initiative began in 2012 as a response to the Dry Creek floods here in East Tennessee, where we built 25 new homes. From there, we have responded to many disasters in Greenbrier, West Virginia, Gatlinburg, Tennessee, Waverly, Tennessee, Mayfield, Kentucky, and East Kentucky. Our experience in disaster recovery, so far we have built 182 new homes in response to floods, as well as 91 repairs for flood-impacted homes, 12 new homes in response to tornadoes, and 24 new homes in response to fires. We have continued to figure out ways that we can serve our neighbors and our communities. In addition to our work in East Tennessee and Western North Carolina, we are set to begin work in Clarksville, Tennessee in response to tornadoes there, and Buchanan, Virginia in response to flooding there. But we've learned, like, how can you repair a home when there isn't one anymore? And so the homes that we build are energy efficient, about 864 square feet, 3 bedroom, 1 bath, kind of depending on family size. They're ADA compliant, and they are mortgage-free homes. They're also built with disaster resilient construction methods, so they're built higher or they're on higher ground. If there could possibly be a silver lining between all of these disasters we've seen, is that as an organization, we as a community have gotten better and better at responding. Since Hurricane Helene hit this area, we have had staff on the ground since day one. As soon as the flood waters receded, we have been assessing damage, working with partners, local governments, and emergency management agencies. We have been distributing generators, shower trailers, vehicles, supplies, equipment, and any information to our volunteers. In the immediate weeks afterwards, we deployed volunteer teams nearly daily to muck out homes and treat for mold. And we have been fielding intakes for families requesting assistance, a number that has reached over the hundreds. Last time I spoke with our case managers, they had 176 people waiting to be called back, and they're doing as many calls as they can. And now, although much of the region is still very much in the immediate and short-term recovery stages, ASP has shifted to our long-term recovery phase, a period that we anticipate will last the next 5 to 10 years. So less than 3 weeks post-storm, we broke ground on the first of many of our new homes. At present, we have completed 4 new homes. We have 25 homes under construction. Our leadership has committed to rebuilding at least 200 homes, but ultimately that number is a placeholder because we are going to be here as long as the need is there. And so, we still have needs, as we know this is going to be a really long journey. We can build a house for $135,000, and that's a fraction of the cost of a typical home because we use nearly 100% volunteer labor where we can, except for the trades. And so because of standing agreements and long-term partnerships with organizations like THDA, which is the Tennessee Housing Development Alliance, and FHLB, which is the Federal Home Loan Bank out of Cincinnati, these homes have roughly $85,000 already accounted for. And so that means our gap funding that all we need to build a new home for a family is $50,000. And while that is a large number, considered in the grand scheme of buying a home, as someone who bought one pretty recently, that is a pretty affordable number. And so we continue to raise funds in order to fill that gap funding to help us go farther. We're also looking for land, as some land is not buildable anymore, and so we're looking for places to build some of our new homes. And most importantly, as I mentioned, we are always looking for volunteers. We do everything we can with volunteers to help extend our funds even farther. We offer single-day opportunities, weekend trips, full-week mission trips. We are still committed in this area and in the other areas we have long-term commitments into doing repairs and building new homes in Appalachia. We will do corporate service days for clubs, organizations, and from what I hear, it sounds like an opportunity is being worked out for all of you here. And as soon as that is figured out, I know that information will be shared with you all. And so if I can close with anything, as I'm speaking to you all, this is going to be on us as a community to help out East Tennessee and Western North Carolina to come together, especially as the national spotlight continues to move elsewhere with other disasters in our county and in our country. And so I invite you all to be a part of rebuilding back this community together. I will be around after the service to answer any questions about ASP, and I thank you all so much for allowing me some time to share about the work that we do.
Thank you, Kristina. And just as Kristina alluded to, they're working out a day to invite the entire congregation to a work day with ASP. So once those details are figured out, it will be in your newsletter and on the e-news. So keep an eye on that. When those details are out, that's where it'll be announced. We'll now hear from Artie from Tri-Cities Mutual Aid.
I want to make sure that I'm hearable because I'm not going to be taking my mask off. Hi, I'm Artie David. My pronouns are V, Vim, or she, her, what you will. I'm a coordinator for the Tri-Cities Mutual Aid and Solidarity Network, with which I've been involved for about 4 years. October 2020 is, I think, when I got involved. We are a grassroots, community-led mutual aid network with the aim to get people what they need, which is a really simple aim, simple goal. We've run a bunch of different projects over the years, notably our free grocery delivery project, which was a hugely ambitious program for us to run with our level of funding and volunteer engagement, and it was truly amazing. We've never had solid funding. Our first grant was this year. all of that was a labor of love. We have a mobile trailer-free store that we set up once a month in Johnson City. And because it's mobile, we can set it up in other locations. We've been doing direct financial assistance for people affected by the hurricane. We've given several $1,000s to give to, already, and are going to be doing more of that with the Washington County Long-Term Recovery Unmet Needs Group, as well as meeting people's needs wherever we can find them. We're also forming a housing issues working group with Tennessee Renters United, and they're doing a day on the Hill next month. And just generally, we have people organizing other projects, big and small, all the time. And we kind of visualize mutual aid here and elsewhere as like kind of a quilt, like the quilt story. There's patches of it existing, and we can thread them together, bolster them, pull together community. And so that's kind of my role as the thread. So yeah, supporting projects, new, old, organizers of all sorts. I've been asked to come out and talk about mutual aid. And I will be really honest with you. I struggled to prepare for this for a few reasons. One is that I don't think mutual aid is that complicated of a concept. Like I said, our mission is just people should have what they need. How can we make that happen? It's not even, a mutual aid is a modern term for a category of helping people, of being in community, that people, ecosystems, life in general has been doing in a wide variety of contexts since time immemorial. Helping each other is a pretty simple thing to grasp. I don't know that it's controversial here. I think that's why I was asked to come. It's just pretty generally like unanimously agreed in even most settings that it's good to have what you need to survive, and it's bad when you don't. I figured that would be literally preaching to the choir a bit too much. So I wanted to talk about what is different about mutual aid versus other ideas of helping people. And if I may be vulnerable, one of the other reasons I struggled to prepare is that I have really been struggling this past week. I've been on antibiotics for multiple dental abscesses. I haven't had money for groceries. My girlfriend locked her keys in the car, and we had to pay a locksmith to get in the car. We've both been struggling. It's just finding accessible employment, our friends sleeping on our couch, yada yada, all the things in the world. And I'm just generally not in a great mental space to write something. But to me, in a way, that is what's great about mutual aid. For me to have a leadership or higher trust position in a big nonprofit charity, I would traditionally have a big salary and an office and people supporting me and assistance and authority and all of these things. I'd have, unpaid interns instead of being the unpaid intern. But what that might fail to do is provide me with any insight into the experiences of the people that my nonprofit might work with. In Tri-Cities Mutual Aid, we make a point not to do any means testing. So we're not, you don't have to be, this poor to get stuff from our free store. You don't have to prove your income. You don't have to fill out pages and pages of forms to prove that you actually did get affected by a hurricane. We just trust you. And so we don't do any means testing. We don't determine anyone to be too resourced to be supported. For one, we all have needs, but Also, if I'm not eating alongside my service population, I wouldn't care if the bread I gave them was moldy or made them sick, because I have my own bread. I'm not worried. I might even convince myself that they're hungry enough to not even care if the bread is moldy or makes them sick. Like that, I picture in my mind they're so grateful to have food at all. It erodes your empathy sometimes. This is why a common mantra for mutual aid is solidarity, not charity. Charity, even when it's rooted in lived experience, is often based in categorizing people as the kind of people that help and the kind of people that are helped. It also often comes with a ton of bureaucratic red tape, arbitrary rules or limits on how we can help. This can create a lot of problems that perpetuate themselves in a way. The people who know the most about the experiences and needs of surviving poverty or navigating racism or escaping domestic violence are the people who are doing that, living that. And maybe they've been doing it for a long time. They know what they need. And often, charities are wonderful and do wonderful work, but sometimes they're not set up in a way to actually meet that need. In the disability community, we joke about the phrase blind leading the blind. Because sometimes the person that's supposed to be your seeing eye person, the person that's like walking you around, helping you find your way, forgets how to communicate to you. They might describe something using color or, that they forget that their experience is so different than yours. And the other blind folk know how to describe things exactly how you need them. They know how it makes sense to you. They know what you need more intimately than somebody else might. And we need that knowledge of firsthand experience to have a full picture. And really, to get a full picture, we need everybody. We need all sorts to build a community. If you go out into the woods to be in nature, everything is just as much nature as everything else. I mean, I always get excited to see like birds and bugs, and I like trying to identify plants. I'm not good at identifying plants. But, I might go out with somebody else who's more excited to see the fish or different trees or rocks or, whatever. It's all nature. And in the same way, every direction of focus in organizing is important. A mutual aid network recreates that natural, multifaceted ecosystem that has all sorts. And it recreates that in an intentional way, returning to how things ought to be after we've been so conditioned into arrangements that don't work. With a charity, often the most ideal thing is to render itself obsolete. I don't know if Kristina would think of like, we would ideally not have to be building homes for people. Everybody would have one. That would be the best thing, is we don't have to do this anymore. It's the problem is no longer a problem. We addressed it, we can stop. This can be true of individual mutual aid projects, but the overarching goal is the same, and it only ever builds that ecosystem up. It can look like giving people free food and supplies, like we do at our free store, creating healthcare access, helping people with house chores, supporting queer and trans people in safety and transition, being there for somebody struggling with grief and feeling alone. All of these things are forms of care that strengthen our community and do not become obsolete. Things are not the way they ought to be if we are so tied up by the stresses of our lives. And many of these stresses have no reason to be the way that they are. We're pulled away from each other and being in community because we are so pulled toward doing everything ourselves. and making our way the right way and working hard. But the American dream is a lie, and one that will exhaust you. Unfortunately, people can do everything the right way and still struggle. Most Americans are living paycheck to paycheck with no way to save money for inevitable surprises and emergencies. Many of us are struggling under student loans, car payments, medical or credit card debt. Many of us are having a hard time seeing each other because we have to work 2 or 3 jobs just to make rent. And being that tied up and squeezed, and tired and burnt out makes us impatient. And then we want everything to be as convenient and simple as possible. And that wears down our hearts. When we're all worn down and impatient like that, it makes it very hard to be a good community member. So if working hard and doing the things the way we were taught to solve problems, it burns us all out like that, we have to work smarter, not harder. Not all of these resources are renewable. Our time, our bodies, the mountains we call home can wear away if we don't take care of it right. We have to be building that ecosystem of care. We have to build our tolerance for being inconvenienced. We have to practice conflict resolution. We have to support each other, even if we're not necessarily friends. When we talk about solidarity and community, that is less about saying, I personally like you, I feel confident that you'll make all the decisions I would make, that I'd approve of them, that I'd co-sign them. We're made of the same stuff, and I cannot have an ecosystem without you. If I give you a bite of my food, or offer you an extra mask, or give you some hand-me-down clothes, I'm not necessarily asking you to tally up and act like you owe me a certain number of bites of sandwich. The idea isn't transactions or earning your place. You have a place. You already have it. We have to build trust and build community so that we have a network we can turn to when things are more complicated than how we can handle them on our own. If we can build flexible and strong community networks so that we can support each other through a once-in-a-century hurricane that tears through the corner of your landlocked state, we can support each other when one of us locks our keys in our car. Because we can survive anything you can dream of. I've worked with the Tri-Cities Mutual Aid and Solidarity Network for 4 years. Talk to me if you're interested in donating, supporting, connecting with the broader network. A better world is possible, and I want to talk to you when we get there.
Thank you, Artie. Let us now extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and share with all the world. Yeah. You gotta hold it and count to 10. It's a small snuffer, but we keep it because it looks cute. Use the bigger one. Yeah. This is not a metaphor. Or is it? Yeah, it's dead now. There we go. You can learn more about many opportunities for fellowship, justice work, and working together by visiting our website at hvuuc.org and checking out our news and events section. Our closing hymn for this month is Building a New Way, number 1017 in the thin teal hymnal. And this is also when we will be passing the offering plate. The contributions that you make to us during this offering supports the way that we can build each other up within this community, and also gives us the resources we need to stretch out into the wider world to make a positive impact. And if you're making a pledge payment, please mark it as such. And thank you so much for your contributions. Please rise with us in body or spirit for our closing hymn, number 1017, Building a New Way. Your benediction today is a quote from Calvin Coolidge. Nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. The slogan, "Press On," has solved and always will solve the problems of the human race. Have a great Sunday, have a great week, and yay, church!
Jesus Christ was a dangerous man. That's the way that he died. He said, be good to the people you love and love everybody alive. Be good to the people. Be good to the people. Be good to the people you love and love everybody.